Hi, welcome to the Calvary Lifecast. It's our podcast where our church family can connect beyond Sunday. I'm Pastor Chaz Louder.
And I'm Pastor Dan Thorson. We're glad to have you.
Brother, we just went through week 3 of Lent. Well done preaching on
Thank you.
Spiritual exile. It was good. The congregation really engaged well. At Minnetonka, we had our soup, and it was just wonderful to have the family together.
It was. I love the community down there.
Yeah.
Those people, they're so great.
Yeah.
And it was funny. I mean, I walked in the door. I even got a little cheer.
Yeah, yes, this is true.
When I walked in.
Yeah.
Because I haven't been down there for a while. So they're like, yay, finally, we get to see you again. Yeah.
It was good. And I know that you had a good time in the chapel as well.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it was a meaningful night. So yeah, come on Wednesdays, either at Golden Valley or at Minnetonka. We'd love to have you as we continue on with Lent.
And something that I've been really encouraged in the congregation in Minnetonka, and I know that Pastor Zach, Pastor Dan, and our whole team want you to be praying about who you're going to invite to Easter, because Lent is ramping up for us to celebrate Easter. And the stats show if you invite somebody you regularly see in your life to church, especially around Christmas or Easter, they're going to come. So pray about it and be bold and invite someone to Easter.
Yeah, we're excited to do that. Speaking of inviting, we'd love it if you liked and shared this podcast. We're just kind of getting off the ground, but we hope that this is just a great spot for us to connect, to talk about the important things that are happening here at Calvary, to dig a little deeper with one another. And so if you can share the podcast, like it's on Apple Podcasts, it's on YouTube.
Mm-hmm. And you'll see random posts on Facebook as well.
You will.
All right.
Yeah, that'll be great. Well, hey, we have a special guest today. We have our first extra staff appearance today. Emily Reesness, our Calvary Kids Director.
Hi, Emily. Welcome to the Calvary Lifecast. Sister, this is your first time.
Yes.
Woo!
I'm so excited.
Yeah, it is first time that we've had another staff member on the podcast. We're excited to have you. So why don't you just get us started? Tell us a little bit about you, your history here at Calvary.
Yes. So my name's Emily. I am the Calvary Kids Director here. I actually grew up here at Calvary. I grew up a part of the kids ministry, a part of the youth ministry, VBS, going to camp, volunteering when I was in the youth program too. It was a lot of fun. And then I continued to stay connected to Calvary. I ended up being an elementary teacher for 5 years.
Lots of good kid experience.
Yes, lots of experience. Yep.
You should use how she did that, just lots of experience. So good kid experience is like lots of experience.
Yeah, maybe not all.
There's been a lot of experiences. And then still continued to stay connected to Calvary, and God did some really cool things in my life to get me here. And ask me about it anytime. I love telling the story. I won't get into it now, but yeah.
Okay. So awesome that you have that history here at Calvary, and you are not alone. We also have our kids director over at Minnetonka, Gabs Olson. She started a few months ago, and we're thrilled to have her as well. I know a little bit about this, but for those who maybe are new to Calvary or haven't yet dropped their kids off, taking that big step, paint the picture. What does a Sunday morning look like in Calvary Kids?
Yeah, so Calvary Kids, we pack a lot into the hour, and it's structured very intentionally, right? We only have 1 hour with these kids, and so we have a little bit of free play as the kids are arriving, where we have a lot of soccer games going on in the back downstairs.
My oldest likes that in particular.
Yes,
Liam, he loves to play soccer down there.
It's a big hit.
Mm-hmm.
We have coloring sheets. We have board games out. We intentionally plan it so that there's a little bit of something for every kid and all of their interests. And it's a time for the leaders to greet all of the kids and to welcome them, to check in on them, to see how they're doing, to see how their week's been. And then during our large group time, we have worship. We sing a few songs. We do usually a pretty competitive large group game where they work. It's usually team based within their small groups, like very active. And then we dive into the word together. We use a curriculum called Grow, and it's usually a 4 to 5 week series where we dig into, most often a book of the Bible. But it can be a topic every now and then. Like right now, we'll be starting our Easter series, but we've been going through the book of Daniel. We just finished that, and that was a lot of fun. And so we'll have a quick lesson where we dive into the word together. We talk about our Bible memory verse, and then they break out into small groups with similarly aged kids, and they get to discuss what they read, and they do either like an art project or an activity that they get to take home as a reminder of what they learned from either our bottom line or the story. And then it's time to get picked up. Yeah. It's fast and furious, and it's a lot of fun.
And it is a lot of fun. And for someone who has kids in the program, Emily, you do a great job.
Thank you.
They are always able to articulate what Bible story that they heard that morning. And they are so proud of the craft that they were able to complete that morning. And those relationships are what is most important. Mm-hmm. They get to see the same leaders, the same adults every time, the same friends. Yeah, my kids always have just an excellent experience. And I know that's because you just put in so much effort with your leader development and with those kids, and you love them so much, which is awesome.
I do.
Another thing that I love about our kids program is these milestone moments.
Yeah.
You know, key times in their lives where we have a special emphasis on their spiritual formation. Can you kind of tell us what are a couple milestones?
Yes. So we have our third grade Bibles, where every October we present the third graders, who are part of Calvary Kids, with their very own Bible.
It's super cute.
It's amazing.
We do it in service.
In service. The parents, they come on stage with their third graders, and we give the parents the Bible to place into their kids' hands, because we want to partner with parents, because we believe that that faith is best formed at home in the family. Yeah. And so that is one of our faith milestones. And then First Communion as well, which we just had last weekend. And it was super awesome to see those fifth graders take that next step in faith with that as well.
Yeah, it was really special.
Emily, as people are hearing this, they're excited to get their kids involved with Calvary Kids. What is your biggest need right now?
Yeah, we are always looking for more adults for a couple of reasons. We want to keep the kids safe, right? There's a lot of kids, and it requires many hands to make sure that all of the kids are safe. But we're specifically looking for men downstairs in Calvary Kids leading the small groups. Mm-hmm. We want kids to have an experience where they can be with lots of different adults, and they can see themselves too. And kids connect differently with different people. And so we need lots of different people. And right now we need a lot of men downstairs. Leading the small groups, but we do have areas in guest experience in the nursery, and in our pre-K room as well. But yeah, it's really cool to see the leaders get to experience the kids having these light bulb moments and get to have a lot of these what I like to call faith first, where they're maybe worshiping for the first time and they haven't engaged, or they are experiencing reading a story that they've never read before, or they're praying for the first time, and to get to see the excitement that the leaders have for experiencing it. I mean, there's a reason that Jesus talks about having faith like a child, right? It's so cool to see the kids getting excited about their faith and experiencing faith in a really fun and engaging way, and to see the adults and the leaders get to experiencing that and see the pride that the leaders have in fostering that environment is really cool.
Yeah. Well, and it's totally worth it. There's no future of the church without an investment in the faith of the next generations. And so if you want to get involved, if you feel the tug of the Holy Spirit to get plugged in, we encourage you to do that. We want to surround these kids with loving, caring adults, and there is a spot for you. So if you want to get plugged in, you can reach out to Emily at ereesness@calvary.org.
Yep.
And we'd love to get you plugged in with Calvary Kids. It is worth it.
Yeah.
Emily, thanks for joining us on the Lifecast.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Now it's time for our Going Deeper segment. We're going to dig into our current series. Dan, we've been for a number of weeks. So many I don't remember, but it's all been powerful in the book of Acts. It's our Unstoppable series.
Yeah, it is. Well, we just got done talking with our kids director, Emily Reesness. We talked about milestone moments. One of the things as a church that we do for kids is baptism. We baptize infants. In fact, I have a class coming up this Sunday with a couple of families. We have a couple of infant baptisms on the 15th. Yeah. On April 19th, we have an immersion baptism event on Sunday morning. And so we want to get that in front of everybody as well. But the book of Acts is something that we rely on as a church in our baptism class. And it really plays a foundational role in why we, being a part of the Lutheran tradition at Calvary, baptize babies. But not every church tradition does that. What's kind of been your experience with baptism, your own baptism, your previous church experience?
Yeah, I grew up in a church that practiced believers' baptism. It was basically kind of freestyle. So it's whenever you feel ready, you can do it. And even though it is kind of like you don't have a program like at a certain age, for the most part, there's like, hey, we're offering baptism just like we are. And a bunch of youth kind of signed up together. My sister was part of that. I remember it was a couple other youth and like a guy who was much older, right? And it was just all together. And it was at a tank at a church that had a baptismal situation. For me, I don't know if it was just my strong-willed nature. I just wasn't feeling it. And so I waited a long time. She got baptized, I want to say when she was, 11 or 12. I waited until I was a senior in high school. I decided that it was time. I read scripture and I saw this was an act of obedience. Christ models this for us. And I'm like, okay, I'm doing it. And I was baptized in a pool in a nicer neighborhood. It was a fancy in-ground pool, and the church was there. We had a nice party afterwards. It was me and a couple others, but really special experience. I remember Psalm 51, create me a clean heart. That was the passage. It was on my heart at the time. It was a praise song back in the day that we'd sing. And it was a really great time with friends and family nearby. Yeah.
I mean, baptism is very significant. Ultimately, we practice it because Jesus commanded us to. In the Great Commission and the Gospel of Matthew, he says, make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. So ultimately, it's an act of obedience. But in the book of Acts, we see time and time again these instances where people are baptized, and then it says, and their whole household. And their whole family. So if you look at this, we actually have a slide. This is something that we use in our baptism classes. You'll see all these instances, and we've covered some of these in our series so far. But you'll notice, for example, in chapter 16, it says Lydia and her household were baptized. Or again, later in that same chapter, the Philippian jailer and his family. Or Crispus and his household, and many in Corinth. And the reality is that in the ancient world, their culture was very, very different than ours. They had what's called a communal culture, where we are more individualistic in the way that we go about thinking about who we are as people and how we make decisions.
It's kind of a free radical in this regard, Dan. I really like the story of the Ethiopian eunuch because you got already the story that Pastor Zach talked about. You got Philip running along the chariot. He's hearing him reading Isaiah. And as they have this conversation, it's like it's almost the eyeballs, are open. There's the light bulb moment. And the Ethiopian eunuch says, heck, there's water. Let's do this thing. And I guess got to tell a brief story. I had the opportunity. I was doing some radio fundraising up north. I'm at a hotel. I am sitting unwinding from a long day of ministry by myself, which is weird because normally my motto is more people all the time, but I was peopled out. And this person engaged with me in conversation. And long story short, about an hour later, I was baptizing this person in the hot tub. She wasn't involved in church, but had a conversion experience, like where there was touch points of faith in her life. And she's just like, I've had this turnaround moment and I'm ready to be baptized. And I'm like, well, we're halfway in the water already. And so
it's like in that story, he said, there's some water. What's going to stop me from getting baptized? So as a church, we practice that as well. When someone comes to faith as an adult, we baptize them, but we also affirm the idea of baptizing babies as a result of their parents' participation in the church and their faith as well. I mean, my kids, for example, if you ask them, if you went to my daughter, Malia, who's 6 years old, and you said, "Hey, Malia, do you follow Jesus?"
Yeah.
She'd say yes.
Of course. Yeah.
Because I do.
Yeah,
and Dad does, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's a part of their DNA. It's a part of, how they're being raised. In the old covenant, the mark was circumcision for the Israelites, for the Jewish people. And that was for babies because they were a part of God's family as a result of their parents being a part of God's family. And so we believe that also goes into the new covenant as well. And in the ancient world, in these communal cultures, which some of them still exist today in Japan and, some Asian cultures are more communal than we are. If the matriarch or patriarch makes a decision, the whole family makes that decision.
Yeah.
It's not like, hey, what are you going to decide, son or daughter? It's like, no, like the family understands that this is something that we're all doing together. So we take these lessons from the book of Acts, that whole households were baptized together.
When I think about baptism, it's that confession of faith. And the verse that we lean on for sure is Romans 10:13.
Yeah.
If you believe in your heart, you confess with your mouth that Jesus was raised from the dead, you'll be saved.
You'll be saved. Yeah. And we don't teach that baptism is salvific in and of itself. So when we baptize a baby, we do so hoping, trusting, and praying that one day they will come to saving faith in Jesus later on as an adult.
Beautiful. And so you get baptized, and confirmation is a confirmation of that baptism, confirmation of your faith.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now, we will also baptize adults who come to faith for the first time and people who want to remember their baptism. Maybe someone's walked away from the Lord for a while and they've come back, or God's done a new thing. I did a remembrance of my baptism as an adult, and we want to make that available for everybody as well. So April 19th, we have a baptism event, and we want to encourage anyone who feels ready to take that next step of faith, to sign up, register, and be baptized.
Buddy, I'm smirking because you told me the story. You're not going to tell the story. This is people want to hear this.
Yeah, well, God really got a hold of my life in college, and so I decided to recognize that by getting baptized, by doing a remembrance of my baptism. And again, it was a similar story where it wasn't formal, it wasn't in a church. Some really close buddies and we baptized each other in a bathtub.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
I love that, just because even as we were giggling a couple weeks ago about those little Post-it notes and testimonies of kids sharing prayer requests, that is a real moment, man.
It was very real.
I mean, from sprinkling to full immersion to a bathtub, it's that declaration. Again, you believe in your heart that Jesus was raised from the dead, you'll be saved. I mean, it's awesome. Thanks for letting me make you share that.
Yes, of course. So please sign up April 19th. We love what God does in the gift of baptism. So love to have you sign up for that. Well, as always, Calvary, we encourage you to be present to God and stay connected with people. We'll see you on Sunday.
God bless.